I was standing in front of a black metal gate I had never approved, watching a woman with a clipboard tell a construction crew not to open it for me while a police cruiser idled at the curb. 2 hours later, a court order would be read out loud on that same sidewalk, and her smile would crack like cheap glass. But in that moment, all I knew was this: somehow my own land had been taken out from under my feet, and everyone around me was acting like that was normal. 2 weeks earlier, my life was painfully ordinary. I was just a guy who had finally pulled the trigger on a long-planned purchase, a vacant corner lot in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place where you wave at people walking their dogs and assume nothing dramatic ever happens. I bought that lot for one very specific reason: it was outside the HOA. I checked it 3 times. I asked at closing. I made the title company confirm it in writing. When that email came back saying, "Not subject to HOA," I saved it like a seatbelt, something I hoped I'd never need but refused to drive without. I had plans. Not grandiose, just normal ones. A modest house, a driveway tying into the street, maybe a small porch where I could drink coffee in the morning. Nothing about it felt controversial. Nothing about it felt like a fight. The first red flag didn't look like a threat. It looked like paper. One morning I pulled up to the lot and saw a glossy packet taped to a metal post near the curb. Bright, professionally printed with highlighted sections and neat bullet points. HOA compliance timeline, deadlines, paint colors, architectural approval steps, all of it addressed to homeowner. The funny part was, there was no home, just dirt survey stakes and weeds. I remember standing there longer than I should have, reading it twice, then a third time, feeling that faint tightening in my chest. It wasn't what the paper said. It was how confidently it said it. Like authority was a given. Like my obedience was already assumed. I took photos with my phone, making sure the timestamp was visible, then emailed the HOA inbox. Simple, polite, direct. My parcel is outside the association. Why did I receive this? 10 minutes later, I got a reply not from the HOA inbox, but from a personal email address. Karen, HOA President. The message was short. "We'll discuss your annexation at the next meeting." Annexation. She used the word like it was already done, like this was a scheduling issue, not a question of ownership. That was the moment my gut stopped giving her the benefit of the doubt. 2 days later, Karen showed up in person. She brought 2 board members with her, both dressed like they'd stepped out of a brochure, neat hair-pressed shirts, confident smiles. They stood right next to my survey stakes, as if those bright little flags were suggestions instead of boundaries. Karen did most of the talking. She had that polished tone, the kind that sounds reasonable until you listen closely. She talked about safety, emergency access, property values, how my corner impacted the community. Then she handed me a clipboard and said they just needed my signature acknowledging participation. That was her goal, my signature. The mechanism was a friendly ambush with witnesses. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "Email it to me." 5 minutes after they left, a PDF hit my inbox. HOA Participation Acknowledgement. And down in the footer, buried like a landmine, was language consenting to annexation. The file property showed it had been edited late the night before. That's when I forwarded everything to my closing attorney. His response came back fast. "They're trying to manufacture consent." When I didn't sign, Karen stopped pretending this was friendly. The next morning, the city permit desk called me. My driveway tie-in was on hold. A complaint had been filed claiming I was encroaching on HOA common area. The goal was delay-freeze my project until I negotiated. The mechanism was bureaucracy, because bureaucracy feels official. I asked for the hold reason in writing. I got it. The complaint listed the HOA president by name. I requested a GIS overlay confirmation from the city. They emailed back a map showing my parcel clearly outside the HOA boundary. I thought that would end it. I really did. Then I went out of town for 48 hours. Halfway through my trip, my phone buzzed with a text from a neighbor, Mr. Alvarez. "Crew at your lot. HOA lady is supervising. They're installing a gate." I booked the earliest flight back and arrived quietly, my stomach already in knots. The gate was there when I pulled up. Black metal, industrial hinges, a keypad lock. It blocked the only drivable access point where my permitted driveway was supposed to tie into the street. Two workers were tightening bolts. Karen stood on the sidewalk with a clipboard pointing, never touching a tool. I stepped out of my car, slowly, hands visible. "Open the gate," I said. "This is my lot." She didn't look at me. She looked at the foreman. "Do not open it for him. Finish the install." That was the moment hope died. That was the moment I stopped thinking reason would work and started thinking survival. I let my dash cam run. I took wide photos of the gate, the street signs, the house numbers. I spotted an invoice copy that had fallen under a rock, HOA billing address, contractor name, everything. I called non-emergency. When the deputy arrived, he asked the obvious question. "Do you own this parcel?" Karen smiled. "It's being annexed." I showed my deed. I showed the city GIS email. I said access was blocked and I wanted it documented. The deputy issued an incident number, neutral tone, clipboard notes, the kind of moment where everything feels slow and heavy. That night, sitting alone, I felt it hit me. The exhaustion, the doubt, the quiet voice asking if I'd misunderstood something, if I'd missed a detail, if maybe I was the problem. I stared at my phone, rereading emails, replaying conversations, wondering how a normal land purchase had turned into this mess. For a minute, I really thought about giving up, about signing whatever she wanted just to make it stop. Then I made one more call. I contacted the county recorder and asked if any annexation paperwork had been filed against my parcel. The clerk paused. "Yes," she said. "Annexation consent. Recording fee paid by an HOA account." That was the moment the fight changed. This wasn't intimidation anymore. This was fraud. I requested certified copies of the filing packet. I had my title company compare the recorded owner signature to my closing signatures. They didn't match, not even close. Karen followed up with a notice of violation emailed to me and copied to 3 neighbors. It accused me of trespassing into HOA-controlled infrastructure and threatened daily fines and a lien. The goal was isolation, make me look like the bad guy. The mechanism was public shaming wrapped in legal-sounding language. I replied once in writing, "Provide the recorded instrument number supporting your claim. Provide the contractor's insurance certificate for work on my parcel." She couldn't, because the job wasn't legitimate. I saved everything the way lawyers like it. Raw email files, full headers, attachment names, timestamps, a clean, ugly timeline. Then she staged a crowd scene. On the sidewalk by my gate, Karen held an emergency HOA walk. 2 board members, a private security guy, neighbors hovering at a distance. She spoke loudly about protecting residents and community investment. She never spoke to me directly. "You're new," she said at one point, smiling too hard. "You don't understand how things work here." I raised my phone. "I understand enough to record." As the group broke up, Mr. Alvarez texted me. She just said, "The lot is ours now. I'll sign a statement." That afternoon, the certified recorder packet arrived. County seal, crisp paper, a forged signature, file creation dates from days earlier, printer tags from a home office model, sloppy, arrogant damming. My attorney sent a preservation notice to the contractor. Contractors don't want to be villains in a fraud case. The foreman forwarded the estimate chain. Karen had written, "Move the gate line to cover the corner so he can't pour a driveway before the vote." That was the smoking gun. We filed for an emergency temporary restraining order. Stop interference with access. Stop reliance on a forged filing. We attached everything, certified copies, signature analysis, permit holds, police incident number, contractor emails. The judge granted it fast, which brings me back to that sidewalk. The deputy stopped writing the moment my attorney laid the order on the hood of his cruiser. Karen's smile cracked. The code inspector looked past her clipboard and asked the foreman who authorized the installation. He answered with her name. "Tools down. Gate ordered open. Annexation theater over." After that, things moved through the only channels that matter. The recorder opened a fraud review. My title company filed a corrective instrument. The HOA issued written retractions. Their insurer demanded explanations. The board realized keeping Karen meant sanctions and lawsuits. They removed her as president and barred her from serving the remainder of her term. A week later, I drove onto my own lot without asking permission from a keypad. Parked where my driveway will start. Let the silence settle. Paper beat ego, And the lesson was simple: in HOA wars, documentation isn't paranoia, it's oxygen.